I am Iron Man, Iron Man, Iron Man, Iron Man.
Hello folks, my name is Jared.
And I am the Mandarin. No, really, I'm Brandon. The Brandarin.
The Brandarin. And today we're coming at you with a new Fanboys Forever discussion video. And this time we're going to be discussing Iron Man 3. When Iron Man 3 was announced, and of course we all knew it was coming, most people assumed that Favreau would be back to direct it. Apparently, he and Robert Downey Jr. had some misgivings about Iron Man 2 and maybe had sort of a hard time working together even on the film. Now, I don't think that it's our intention to represent that as them hating each other because as Favreau elaborated, or maybe it was Robert Downey Jr. elaborated, that they were sort of like brothers, that they would kind of get into it, and then they would be over it. If it wasn't cool, then Favreau clearly wouldn't be back to play Hogan.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let's parallel this in the real world. I didn't like Iron Man 2, and Jared really liked it, and we got over it, so, we're practically brothers. That goes to show you,
right.
Just one bad movie is not going to mean you're at each other's throats for the rest of your lives.
But I do feel like it was the absolute right decision to have Jon Favreau step down and have somebody else come in because there was kind of a struggle creatively over which one of them was really driving the movies. Was it really Robert Downey Jr. or was it Jon Favreau? And I think in equal measure that they sort of shaped that first movie. And absolutely no disrespect to Jon Favreau. But I think, if it wasn't for Robert Downey Jr.'s involvement, though, it probably would have been a very normal kind of action movie. It would have been a by-the-numbers kind of thing. I mean, Favreau's a really, really good director, but he's not... Iron Man is really sort of above his usual range of talent. So.
Yeah, it really is. It's a cut above. I think it's the best film that he's directed. And he's directed several very good ones. So. But it's just... And again, it's so... it's counter genre for every film he directed up to that point was a comedy. He'd done Maid and Elf with Will Ferrell and Zathura. He'd done a lot of acting.
So let's fast forward to Shane Black being announced. Of course, Shane Black had worked with Robert Downey Jr. before, and clearly somebody that RDJ really respects and somebody that he likes.
I think that there's a special quality between he and Downey because Kiss Kiss Bang. It's a terrific film, and it kind of brought him back from the brink. Iron Man is the big gig that pushed him back into the mainstream, but that movie probably could have potentially saved his life. I don't know where he was personally at the time specifically, but nowhere good, I'm sure, and that was a big underground success for both of them.
The great thing about Iron Man 3 is I remember when it was filming, and the information was so limited that they kept things under wraps so well that really nobody knew what was going on. Nobody knew what the Mandarin looked like. It was very low key.
One of the things I liked about the set reports we were getting is we were seeing so many fascinating things. We were seeing Iron Patriot and all that, but there was just no context for it. So that's the best kind of set photos you can possibly get, where it gets you wondering.
Yeah, like I didn't even know this was supposed to be in the movie.
Yeah,
when the Iron Patriot showed up, it was kind of a big deal. And then, of course, they announced that Ben Kingsley was going to be playing the Mandarin, and I was really floored by that because, number one, I expected there to be an Asian actor portray the role, but really, it shouldn't be all that surprising to me because the big challenge was they wanted to get it away from an Asian stereotype. Well, if you get an actor who clearly is not Asian,
or not, pretending to be Asian either,
then there isn't a concern for any sort of stereotype. Instead, you can just play the Mandarin as a character and not worry about an ethnicity. So, despite his name, the Mandarin.
I assume that'll be explained in the film.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's explained or not, honestly.
Well, the Ten Rings is supposedly his terrorist organization that he's been puppeteering since the first movie. So clearly, he's already got a great, background. And the guy that supplied Vanko with his passport and his papers to get to America was the Ten Rings, confirmed by Favreau. And he's also credited that way as a Ten Rings guy, I think is his credits.
Ten Rings terrorist.
Yeah.
So the thread has been there since the word go.
Now, with his look, I was just floored because it was so good, and it was so much more extreme than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I expected something very minimalist, like a green suit with a yellow stripe on the lapel or something.
Well, when New Line was going to be doing the Iron Man movie, apparently the script, and I think David Hyder wrote the script, is that correct?
So, yeah.
I believe that when that script came around, that the Mandarin was going to be an Asian businessman, was going to be the ideal. So in my mind, that was always what it was going to be if they ever did it. It was just going to be some guy in a suit, But I was very pleasantly surprised to see he has a crazy beard. He's even got the rings. I'm sure the rings don't have superpowers.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any magic coming out of those.
Yeah. Ben Kingsley, I couldn't have been happier with Ben Kingsley. And then, of course, Guy Pearce, he joined the cast, and maybe what could be a minor role, but still very impressive that Adrian Killian is who he'll be playing.
Yeah. And I guess the impression I get with this new trailer is that William Sadler, who was announced was going to be in the film, or it was rumored that he was going to be in the film, and then it was, maybe he's not, maybe he's just there hanging out with somebody, but it appears like he's playing the president.
Yeah, it seems like he's either playing the president or a prominent senator of some sort.
Like that.
Well, either way, he is a politician in the movie.
Yeah, and Sadler's just a terrific actor, and Death from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, if you're not familiar with his previous work, that I guess would be his signature role. He's responsible for some of the funniest lines in motion picture history. So I'm glad to see that guy in anything, especially these big projects.
If you want to see something funny, go watch Death apologizing to God for Bill and Ted's behavior. I'm sorry.
Do not overlook my butt. I work out all the time, and the reaping burns lots of calories. Oh, goodness. Highly recommended. Anyway, so again, it carries on the great supporting cast that we've had with the previous films, which is a great thing. I'd like to see, like I said about Sadler, you like these sort of underground or cult status actors.
Sort of like Gary Chandling when he showed up for Iron Man 2. So that tradition, is kind of maintained, especially since he's playing a politician.
Yeah.
It's so funny that they keep kind of getting the underground,
these
cult
comedy
comedians,
actors,
to do it. So that's really, really cool. The first trailer came out, and clearly the movie went for a tone that I wasn't really expecting. It was much, much darker than I thought it was going to be. That is an adjective that's thrown around way too much.
Yeah, with these, especially with these comic book films. And I think that there was a misrepresentation of Iron Man 2, that it was going to be that tonally dark.
Well, you made a good point the other day. You said that in Iron Man 2, at no point did you feel that Tony Stark was really in danger.
No, not at all. I think he's always on top of the situation, comically at some points, which I don't think was appropriate for the situation in the film. But this go around, the impression I get is that it's a life or death situation from start to finish.
I think tonally the movie does take a lot of inspiration from Dark Knight Rises. Really, I think it's sort of that kind of dissection, sort of deconstruction of a character. Sort of just seeing what he's made out of, literally nuts and bolts, I guess, in this case. When finding out about the development of Iron Man 3, we found out that it would use some elements from Extremis. Now, Extremis is a comic book story that was written several years ago that sort of revitalized Iron Man and was the first major Iron Man work that Adi Granov, the digital artist, had done for the character. And of course, that book went on to set up a tone and a continuity. But Extremis was a major influence for a lot of years for the comic.
Any of these characters that get a big film, hopefully they have that sort of jumping off point where there's been a great comic book arc that takes the character back to basics or retells the origin in a very special way. And for Iron Man, that was Extremis. And I have no doubt that its success inspired Marvel Studios to push the film forward the way they did.
I was kind of thinking that they would probably have a very by-the-numbers adaptation of Extremis.
Yeah, because, there's a comic book arc that's really, it's so cinematic already. It's something that you could just adapt very...
no problem.
And, there were elements of that story. Excuse me. And then we'd already seen elements of Extremis in the first film, especially with the origin story, the way it's presented. So it made sense. I remember, 5 years ago, us talking about it in good detail. That I think they'll eventually do Extremis. So it wasn't a big surprise, but nonetheless, we were very happy about it.
From the first trailer, it's then very obvious to see that Extremis is sort of changed for the movie. Apparently, Extremis is still a viral sort of super enhancement kind of deal. I think there was a Lego set recently that kind of confirmed this. In it was a character, I don't know if it was Killian or who, but his eyes were black and red, and he was doing the Extremis freak out from the comics that you all are probably very familiar with. Very scary and disturbing comic. Hopefully they don't take it that far in the movie, because they laid it on a little thick for Extremis, but still, apparently Extremis is still sort of the same thing, and I still think that it's possible that Tony Stark will have to inject himself with Extremis.
I think there's a good possibility. I highly recommend the book, but if you're looking for a leisurely way to take in a story, they did an excellent motion comic a few years back. I think it's on Netflix instant streaming.
It's on instant, so I mean, it's
Netflix,
very easy
check
to
it out.
watch it.
It's a good segue. It's a good if you've not read any comics, if you're a big fan of just the films, this is a very good supplement to that material too, and it'll give you a good leeway in Iron Man 3. Yeah, it was terrific, I thought. Just exactly what you want to see out of a trailer. Just a glimpse of everything, just a little taste of all your, not giving away everything, but, some of your big set pieces. You want to
leaving you with more questions than answers, because that's what I had after watching it is, I'm trying to figure out what's the Mark 42 doing over Tony Stark looking at him, what's the Mandarin's deal?
Why is the Mandarin talking like that?
It's even, there are heroes, there is no such thing. I like it, I think it's really cool.
I always considered myself to be a teacher. We could do that all day, but we won't. Just everything you'd want out of a trailer. Just presented the material very well.
Perfect teaser trailer. Gave you just enough of what you wanted. And it's really set up the tone of the movie, if not the story or anything.
Well, as a trailer, and especially as a second trailer, I think it's another really good example of what studios should try to do. And that first trailer was excellent, and this one succeeded in extrapolating on a lot of the things that we've seen with the first. It took hints and gave us a much better idea. This one, it went a little further in telling the story, gave off just a few more shots of these big set pieces. Gave us a look at all the characters. We see all the actors back, Guy Pearce and Bill Sadler now, but our returning characters, Pepper and Jim Rhodes, didn't quite give us the full idea of what the Mandarin is going to be as a character, which I really appreciate, because I think he should be fairly mysterious up until we actually see the film. Just a great extension of that previous trailer. I mean, it stands on its own very well. I would still say that first one is a better trailer, but perhaps because it just got us asking more questions, it was a little bit more exciting. But I love what I'm seeing.
Well, I really agreed with what you said. I think it was a very strong trailer. I think it suffered just a little bit around the beginning from sort of some generic music choices. We can all certainly assume that that's temp music and that won't actually be featured in the film. But other than that, I thought it was very strong. And like you said, it builds on that first trailer. It gives us just a little bit more of everything. And it doesn't retread a lot of the same footage that was in the first trailer, which I think is so important when you do that next big trailer. You don't want to just show everything again, or people will really get sick of the content. It did give us some better looks at a few characters, particularly Jim Rhodes, who was really sort of absent from the first trailer.
Based on that first trailer, I was concerned he would be a fairly minimal player in the story, but I'm glad to see he's just going to be right in the thick of the action again, and why not?
Another character, Brandon, that was featured a little more prominently in this next trailer, she was already in the first, it was Pepper Potts, and of course I absolutely love what Gwyneth Paltrow does with her. In both Iron Man 1 and 2, I thought she was very, very good as Pepper.
And in the Avengers.
And in the Avengers, which was just a great, great idea, I think. But there is a lot of rumors, spoiler alert, that apparently she may put on the rescue armor from the comics that Pepper had worn before. So how do you feel about that? Do you think that that's supported by the last trailer?
I think so. And I just would like to say that I like the notion in general. I think that, with these films, I think sometimes minimalizing them is good, but in this particular case, I think that escalation needs to continue. If there's 40 odd Iron Mans, flying around, or Iron Persons, I guess, if one of them's a woman, let Pepper be one of them. That's one of my favorite Iron Man stories in the comic books. It's issue 3. It was issue 3. It was either 300 or the 30th anniversary, where all of Tony's friends get in, to the. I think that would be a really cool idea to retread for this film.
Yeah, it's times like this that I wish Jarvis were a human so that he could be in one of the armors. But maybe Jarvis will remote control a lot of the suits. And maybe it'll be his voice coming out of them. I mean, who knows? Which I'm not knocking Jarvis as a computer. I thought that was really, really good.
Yeah, that was one of those clever ideas.
Because it keeps it from being a Batman retread, which Jarvis, is.
Yeah,
he's just an Alfred rip-off.
So. Very clearly Alfred. But
I do think it's very possible Pepper will be donning that armor.
I won't be disappointed if she doesn't.
Right,
if she
but
does, I'm all for it.
It's definitely a great idea.
I
mean, it won't be terrible if she doesn't, like you said. Now, AIM is supposed to be a part of the movie, and apparently Killian or somebody will be a part of AIM, the Guy Pearce character. So that will be interesting, and I'll be very.
Let me tell you, I'm going to put it on the table right now. If we don't have MODOK and guys in yellow suits in this movie, I just won't have it. Okay.
You probably get the guys in yellow suits. Probably.
I hope so. Something like that. There'll be guys in yellow lab coats or something.
MODOK,
Yeah, maybe MODOK can be a computer too, like Jarvis. That might be cool.
It'll just be like this computer altered Zach Galifianakis head. Hey. I can see that in my mind.
Whatever it is, I don't know.
Hey.
I think MODOK's neat, but it's one of those characters. The way he is in the comics, never ever, nobody should even try. So,
bad idea.
As much as I love the guy, I'm not. I won't be disappointed if that's something that never happens. But AIM, right. I'm just glad to see AIM. I think that's a really great idea. Yeah, the question I have is the involvement with the Ten Rings and AIM. What if they are associated at all, and if so, which has the bigger impact on the other? Is it AIM's decision that causes the Mandarin to get involved, or is it the Mandarin's attack that causes AIM to get involved? That's one of the big questions I still have. So I'll be very curious how that works itself out.
I'm just going to go ahead and sort of lay it out on the table that my guess, this is just a pure guess, is that AIM will be instrumental in manufacturing the Extremis virus.
If I had to assume, and I don't like making assumptions like this necessarily, but just to throw it out there, I assume AIM could be a benign force or a supposedly friendly, element to Tony Stark and his crew in the beginning of the film, and then it could be revealed that it's a sinister organization. That might be a good way to take it. Revealed that the Mandarin may be behind AIM in the film.
Right, and I feel that AIM is manufacturing the Extremis virus, unbeknownst to its creator, the new lady in the film, Mia, I think is the character's name in the comics.
I believe so.
That unbeknownst to her and maybe some others, that it is actually being manufactured for the Mandarin to his specifications and using it as like a terror weapon. Apparently, Iron Man 3, story-wise, will be using the Avengers as a jumping-off point, which I really appreciate. And with Tony Stark referencing the battle in New York in the first trailer and also at the beginning of the second trailer, saying that it's like changed him as a person. And of course, he has the near-death experience at the beginning. And so that will be an element. Now, as for why the Mandarin decides to strike, or why the Mandarin and the Ten Rings decide that now is the time to take out Iron Man, it's interesting. It could be related to the Avengers. I don't know if they see him now as a different kind of threat. We clearly know that the Mandarin blows up Tony Stark's house in California. So, too bad. It was a really cool looking house.
Yeah, I know.
But it looks like just a fantastic action sequence, and we get to see more of that in the trailer, so I was very happy to see it.
Obviously, the Mandarins, there's the attack, and in this new trailer, that I dig that line. It's the hook line for the trailer, obviously. No politics, just good old-fashioned
revenge.
And getting back to the idea that Iron Man 2 is such a simple revenge story, I think... And the identification of the heart element in the first Iron Man, they're playing that card again. They're eschewing the typical. They're stepping away from the typical revenge story by saying that by just tapping it on the nose, by putting it in everybody's face, saying it out loud.
Yeah, I think that that's definitely it. And I believe that wherever the finale of the film leads, clearly the finale now we know is at night. And we know that it's going to involve a lot of different armors and Iron Man and War Machine. And they'll be somehow facing something. The Mandarin's forces some way or another. I love how ambiguous it is.
Yeah, I don't know. Extremis
I don't know what it
zombies,
could be. Yeah, I don't really know what it is they're fighting.
Hey, it's Fin Fang Foom and the robot dragons from Iron Man the Animated Series.
He's being kept in a metal shed. So he's going to be unleashed upon
He's at the harbor. He comes up out of the water. It's a dragon.
Jack, it's Fin Fang Foom.
Now, last year, sort of earlier in the year, we had some very, very early kind of preliminary toy previews for Iron Man 3, and it was mostly to highlight the new armor, the Mark 42. And in those previews, there were these little minifigures, sort of like Metzits, but they were sort of smaller. And they were of all kinds of different armors. And I said right away, I said, those armors aren't just made up for these toys, that those armors will probably be in the movie somehow. Now, I assumed that we might see them in like a hall of armors and that might be it. But apparently there's a little thing called the Iron Army. That's what fans are calling it anyway. In the new trailer that had been leaked before in some detail.
Apparently during the final battle, which Iron Man and War Machine will be leading, there are 40 additional, 35, however it happens to be, however many it happens to be, armors following them in the battle. And we've seen designs like outer space armor, Hulkbuster armor. Many of them comic book inspired. There's some interesting looking, unique armors, best we can tell. Pepper's rescue armor, maybe one of those, and the assault at the end. We can't really say for sure right now. Again, escalating the technology element in the film, I think, is important. And I love the idea of going from just really still a few at the end of the Avengers. There's still just 7 suits of armor in his haul, to having so many, 42 or so apparently. One of the very best elements of Tony Stark as a character is that he's a reactionary character. He reacts sometimes to the extreme, to the circumstances or to his environment. From Iron Man 1 to Iron Man 2, for instance, he decides he needs to have an armor that he has quick access to, so he builds the Mark V, the suitcase armor. And we see at the end of the Avengers, he is forced into space for a few minutes, and he nearly dies, being trapped in the vacuum of space. So things like we mentioned, the outer space armor is perfect, logic for the character. Worried about having to go into space again, so builds a suit of armor for it. Same for the Hulk. Encounters a force like that was previously unquantified, so he reacts by building a new suit of armor. So, it's been an element in the comic books, since the word go, that his technology develops, and I'm glad to see it carry over into the film so specifically.
I absolutely love this idea of the Iron Army because, like you'd mentioned earlier, it jives so well with a lot of those anniversary issues, the comic where all of Iron Man's armors were either piloted by his friends or on remote control a lot of the times. It is unclear at this point who, if anything, are in the armors. Now, there is an element of extremis that Iron Man controls his technology in the comics remotely, and it's through his mind. Now, in the trailers, we've seen Tony Stark wearing a rig that's sort of like pieces on his hands and a thing around his head.
Yeah, headband.
Yeah, and it sort of tells me that maybe Shane Black has sort of found a way to make the extremis powers a little more realistic. I do not think for a second that he'll be injected with a tech virus that will allow him to mentally
telekinetic
like with his own body. But I think that like the pieces he's wearing would give him the ability to do this. The headband, the pieces on the arms and things. So it wouldn't surprise me if somehow maybe he's able to remotely control them.
Yeah.
But I just don't know about that many at once. I don't know how they could possibly explain that.
Well, something, and it just occurred to me this second. I'd like to maybe see them explain it with an element from the Avengers. Something I didn't expect in the Avengers is when they shut down the mothership from the space portal, through the space portal, that the Chitauri shut down like they're being controlled, like the battle droids in the Star Wars prequels. Maybe he confiscates some of that technology and develops it into a way to remotely control all the armors.
That's a good
at once.
theory. Probably a much better explanation than what they have in the movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm really excited about the Iron Army, and I think that's going to be just a fantastic visual, if nothing else.
Yeah, it'll be terrific, I think. If you're a toy fan and if you're a follower of our channel, you know that we are. There won't be toys of a whole lot of the things we're seeing in this film, not right away anyway. What a shame that here's Hasbro's golden opportunity to produce as many action figures as they want, and they could all be from the movie, but they're not really doing any. The offerings that we have so far in the 3 3/4 realm are 5-point simple articulated basic figures, and the, what are they called? Builders, some iron builders.
They're called iron assemblers.
Iron assemblers, that's it. Which are figures where the limbs pop off, and I don't think they're really articulated either. 5 or 6
They're
points
not.
again.
No, they're very basic.
So if you're looking for quality 3 3/4 Iron Man 3 action figures, I'm afraid that you are simply out of luck, my friend. It's not happening. It doesn't look like it's going to happen.
They didn't even make a basic Mark 42 that's articulated like the old Iron Man 2 figures. And to say this is disappointing is a huge understatement, but we'll probably do a video about that here pretty soon. So I'll be on the lookout for that, and I'm sure a lot of you guys will really enjoy it.
So here we are. We're a little less than 2 months away from the release of the film. It's coming out May 3rd in the United States. It's coming out a little sooner in other countries, the United Kingdom, I believe, for sure. Not a lot of time in movie terms. Just enough time to continuously get excited, until its release. That's something that I'm going to try my very best not to do, because I think I would have enjoyed Iron Man 2 a great deal more if I hadn't gotten so excited for it. If I could have tempered my expectations. I think that I don't think there was any circumstance where I would have loved the movie, but I think that I certainly could have stood a lot more of it if I had prepared myself accordingly. Now I do believe that I'm liking what I see out of Iron Man 3 a good deal more, and it's been several years, and every year, every few months, I feel like I progress and I age as a film critic and a film viewer. So I believe I know what I want more, now than I did 3 years ago, even short a time as that really is. And I love what I'm seeing, and it's going to be difficult not to get excited, even though it's probably for the best.
I've been an Iron Man fan since before it was cool to be an Iron Man fan. I used to be the guy that would preach around about how Iron Man deserved his own series of movies, and I had them all planned out in my mind when I was a teenager. I said, in this one he would have this armor, and this one he would have this armor, and then he would fight this villain, and I had it all mapped out. And
somewhere we've got notebooks full of sketches, for what would have been the designs of movies and things. So it's something that's been on our mind for forever.
And for me personally, for Iron Man, to finally get a film series, it was really special. And such a big deal to me, because I was Iron Man's #1 fan. I thought he was great, and he appealed to me on a level that no other superhero did. This guy who surrounds himself with technology, even more so than Batman or anyone like that. And I was so taken aback by the films, and I love them so much that I could even love Iron Man 2 way more than most people. And so I'm not worried in the least about what I might think about Iron Man 3. I'll just go ahead and 100% guarantee I'll have a very positive opinion of Iron Man 3. I don't see how I couldn't. I love it. I love the character that much. Honestly, if Robert Downey Jr. just shown up and pranced around, and then they sort of intercut some scenes of Iron Man that was from the trailers, I'd probably be pretty happy if they did that for about 2 hours. I think it's great. So.
Just see, this time I know that's a possibility. So,
yeah. So you're prepared for that.
Iron Man highlights those films for us highlight something that a lot of comic book fans feel. Fans who are fans of characters that haven't gotten that sort of treatment yet, is that through our whole lives we see these characters and we think if only people knew that they would love this character as much as they love Batman or Superman or Spider-Man. And Iron Man really, he got that chance, and he got such a great film that it opened everybody's eyes to the character. I have things, merchandise, Marvel superheroes merchandise from not that long ago, from 6 or 7 years ago, and Iron Man's nowhere. You'll see Daredevil on that stuff from that time period before you'll see Iron Man, but now he takes the spotlight away from everybody. He's got his own cartoon series, and he's the headliner for the Avengers cartoon series, and he's on soap and taffy, candy, and bubble gum and everything else. It's really thrilling to see a character like that, leap off the page and onto everything.
Iron Man, you owe a great debt of gratitude to Robert Downey Jr. That's really how I feel. I mean,
Absolutely.
If not for him, it never would have took off the way it did. People wouldn't have loved the character the way that they do. And it's going to be nearly impossible to recast Iron Man with someone that will be as memorable or as exciting. Robert Downey Jr. will own that role for the rest of his life. Till the day he dies, he'll be Iron Man to people. So.
I'd like to say that Robert Downey Jr. is to Iron Man as Adam West is to Batman, where Adam West still has so much enthusiasm for the fact that he was Batman, and I think we all like to think that he still believes he's Batman in a certain way, and I think that's it. Robert Downey Jr., when he's 85 years old, will still believe that he's Iron Man. He'll still think that he's the one true.
I fully expect that too. The older he gets, the more Iron Man he will feel that he is.
And I think that's great, and I can't wait, to see what he does with the character for the rest of his tenure in the role, and I can't wait to see what he brings us afterwards.
All right, so with that in mind, guys, we anxiously await Iron Man 3 with bated breath.
Yes.
We are just so excited. It's concerning to me that we have nearly 2 months to wait, and I'm already getting this fired up. In order to satiate that and also to entertain you guys, we're going to be trying to do some special Iron Man videos.
Yes.
We have some special things in the pipeline, and hopefully you guys will be around to enjoy all those. And if we do indeed get to make them, we'll put the links right here someday if they ever come out. So watch this space. Maybe they'll be right here or here or here.
Yes, we'll put them on the Iron Man faces.
I'll put them all over Brandon's face so you don't see them, and they'll all point towards me.
Yeah. Folks, it's been terrific talking to you again. This is a format that we really enjoyed, and it's something we hope to continue doing. We're planning to do some G.I. Joe related videos for the release of Retaliation at the end of this month. Next month, hopefully we'll get to do some Jurassic Park videos for the 3D re-release of the original films. Sort of a walk down memory lane with Jurassic Park, maybe a look ahead at what 4 may bring us. And then Iron Man 3 eventually we'll give you our response to the film. Hopefully it lives up to our expectations, and I think it will. Looking very forward to it. And then we have Man of Steel coming out in June, and The Wolverine coming out in July, and this is going to be an absolutely terrific month, terrific summer this year. Could possibly rival the last summer, which we thought would be the biggest ever. So a lot of great stuff. We're looking forward to it, and looking forward to bringing the information to you.
All right, guys, so this has been Jerry.
And this has been Brandon.
Take care. God bless. Thanks for tuning in. Rate, comment, subscribe. Love to hear from you.
Please leave us your opinions about Iron Man 3, the trailer, and just tell us how you're excited for the movie, how much you're looking forward to it. We'd really appreciate it. Take care.
Bye.